I'm sat here with David and Tracy. Good afternoon to you both.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
We're going to be talking about something I know nothing about, which I guess is a kind of virtual. It's called Bitcoin. David, just to start me off, what's Bitcoin?
Well, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. It operates on.
You confuse me, but what's a cryptocurrency?
Okay, a cryptocurrency is a currency that is encrypted on something called the blockchain. And I know what you're going to ask me next. What is a blockchain? Well, you have to look at the blockchain a little bit like a ledger, but it's a distributed ledger. It's distributed amongst many computers. The difference between that and what we have at the moment is that at the moment we have centralized registers. So a bank would have one register for all the transactions, and it would be held at, say, the head office at the bank. The branches might be able to have access to it, but everything goes to the head office, the bank, in London, say, for argument's sake.
Okay.
With the blockchain, that's a distributed ledger that's distributed amongst something called nodes. Nodes is just a fancy name for a computer, and those nodes can be everywhere in the world. And everywhere in the world that has a node has a copy of the blockchain.
Okay. So it is like something which is on the internet. You don't actually get to hold bitcoins in your hand, do you?
No, you don't. No, they are a virtual currency. You can't see them, you can't touch them. But then, to be fair, you can't see or touch pounds or euros that are in your bank account. They're just held on a computer as well. Only 3% of any currency is actually in paper form. The rest are held on a bank's computer.
I never thought that.
Yes, it's absolutely true. Yeah. With a cryptocurrency, it's basically trustless. I don't have to trust you, and you don't have to trust me.
Okay. How does that work?
Right. Well, if I send you something, if I send you some Bitcoin, let me just say here that Bitcoin is one of, at the moment, about 1,250 different cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is the number one cryptocurrency. It's been in existence for the longest amount of time. In fact, it was released in October the 31st, 2009. So it's just celebrated a birthday. It didn't really come to anybody's attention until 2010, 2011, and then only the really geeky sort of people that really got into it. It's now becoming more and more mainstream. But to get back to your question, if I send you something from something called a wallet, and to your wallet, once I've sent it, you know that it's sent, it can't be reversed, and therefore you don't have to know who I am, and I don't have to know who you are.
So kind of like PayPal, a bit like that?
No.
Okay.
Actually, that's a good analogy. PayPal always wanted to be what Bitcoin is. But the problem is with PayPal is they never ever got past the fact that PayPal is centralized. PayPal had their centralized servers in California, so everything had to go through the central server. So if I wanted to send you a PayPal payment from here in England to, say, you in America, in Alaska for argument's sake, everything went through their servers in California. So it's not decentralized.
Okay. And Bitcoin is?
Bitcoin is decentralized. All the cryptocurrencies are decentralized.
Okay. So why would I want to get into it? I mean, that's the big question, isn't it?
Well, for a few reasons. One, and if we take Bitcoin as it's the sort of market leader, the coin count, the maximum amount of coins available is 21 million. Now, each coin is divisible currently with 8 decimal places.
Right,
okay. So it could be 1 point and then X amount of zeros, right? So because it's digital, you can have fractions of a coin, all right? But the important thing here is the maximum number of coins available, 21 million. Now, if we go back to, say, 2008, 2009, when the banks were doing what they were doing and they got bailed out, how did they get bailed out? Massive amounts of money was printed. I mean, it wasn't actually printed, it was created on a computer. And so if there's £10 million only in existence and suddenly the government or a central bank creates another 10, then hasn't that just diluted the value of every one of your pounds or euros?
Well, yeah, this is something I thought at the time that, what do they call it? Something easing. What quantitative
Well,
easing?
they call it quantitative easing, but it's a nice fancy name for money printing or money creation. And the problem is that if you look at the buying power, I mean, I don't know if you remember, but back in the 70s, what you could get for a penny in the shop. Now what can you get for a penny? Nothing. You could buy sweets or something in the 70s for that. You can't buy anything for a penny now. And so what's happened over time is that currencies are devalued over time. And they're devalued because more and more of them are created. And so the pounds in existence that was around in the 1970s bears no relation to what's around today. Now, this is completely the opposite with cryptocurrencies, and especially Bitcoin. Bitcoin has only 21 million available. They have to be something called mined. Yeah, and I can see Eli looking at you.
Got to get a helmet and pickaxe.
Yeah. Well, I need to explain three things. It's probably one of the most misunderstood things about cryptocurrencies. Mining, wallets, and coins.
Okay.
Okay. We call them Bitcoin coins. Okay. And we keep them in something called a wallet, and we get them, if we don't buy them, by mining them. And the problem is that there is no Bitcoin, there is no physical entity, there is no physical wallet like you'd carry in your pocket, and the mining isn't done like you would expect mining to be done. But they had to come up, the guys that invented this, or the guy that invented it, a guy called Satoshi Nakamoto, they had to come up with, or the people that were working with him, had to come up with something that the public could get their head into. And the problem is that a lot of people have said they've made it more confusing. Yeah? Because of the name. Because if I say to you wallet, you think about what's in your pocket. Okay? And a wallet could be anything. It could be on your phone, it could be on a USB stick, it could be on a computer, it could be anything. It's just a repository for the coin, which isn't really a coin. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the coin itself is just a digital entry. Okay. And everything is, and this is the most important thing. Everything is held on the blockchain. The blockchain is the register of all the transactions. Okay? It grows in size, but day by day, as more and more transactions are done on it. And so what you have in your pocket as a wallet, which might be your phone, really, although it shows you that you might have 2 Bitcoin on there, it is actually just a reflection of what's on your account on the register.
Okay.
So it's reflecting onto your wallet. You don't actually have a coin. No. And you don't actually have a wallet.
All right.
But you have something that they call a wallet because they couldn't think of a better idea or a better name. I've been in this now for quite a while, so I'm so used to it, it's normal to me. Yeah? But to a lot of people who are new in this, it's very difficult to understand because they start thinking in the physical realm. Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies are 100% digital.
Yeah.
They only exist on computers. Yeah?
Okay.
Now, with the wallet, that is just essentially what's reflected on the blockchain, you have X amount of coins, which is just a bunch of numbers that are reflected on the blockchain. And now we have something called mining.
Right. Yeah, now this is the bit that I'm fascinated.
Okay. There are 2 ways to get coins. You can mine them, or you can buy them. Most people now buy them, and I'll explain why. In the beginning, mining is just basically solving mathematical problems. And the mathematical problem that the mining, quote unquote, needs to find is the next prime number. And in the beginning, the software that was finding prime numbers, it was really easy. You could do it on any old PC and you would get rewarded by the blockchain. When you solve a problem, the blockchain rewards you with a coin. So this is all software programming. Absolute, genius idea that the guys have come up with. And of course, 7 or 8 years ago, finding the next prime number was easy.
Okay.
Now, not so. Now, you have to have very, very specialized computer mining equipment, which is dedicated computer equipment harnessed together to find the next prime number, because we're now in the quadrillions.
Goodness.
If I told you that the largest mining companies in the world are in China, there are 2 that are probably side by side the size of Wembley Stadium. They're absolutely stacked with mining equipment, and all they do 24 hours a day is to find the next prime number.
I can understand what you're saying, but there is just one question that comes into my mind, and that's why? Why do you need to find the next prime number?
Because you need to find the next prime number because you want to be rewarded with a Bitcoin.
Okay, all right, yeah, all right.
And because they are a deflationary currency, because there are only 21 million that can be created, we're currently up to 16.5 million that's been mined, okay? Then every Bitcoin, the more and more people that want to adopt it, and the less and less supply, the higher the price must go.
Right, okay. So the alternative to going through mining and trying to find the next prime number is to buy one.
Yeah, mining is not now possible at home. It's not now possible. The entry level for the most rudimentary mining is in the thousands and thousands of euros just to buy the equipment, and you are competing against mining pools in China, you know, the likes of which you've never seen. So, you know, your reward from the blockchain will be so small that it's just not worth your mark. It probably now takes 2 to 3 years just to recoup your initial cost.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And so what most people do now is they go to an exchange,
right,
where they sign up, where they can buy coins that somebody else is selling. Now, obviously, somebody else had bought that coin or had mined that coin at a less cost, and you're now paying a higher cost than they did, and that's how exchanges work. They buy and sell at a profit.
Right, so they're going to make a profit out of you. You hang on to it, and then maybe you could make a profit out of it.
Well, I'll give you an example. At the beginning of the year, on the 1st of January, in dollars, the dollar price in Bitcoin is the most important because the dollar market is the biggest in the world in Bitcoin. The euro and the pounds and other currencies are just subsets of dollars. And so the dollar price at the beginning of this year was $932. Just last week, we had an all-time high of $7,600.
Whoa.
So that's
incredible.
Yeah, that's over a 7-fold increase. And of course, some people might say, well, it's in a bubble, or it's this, or it's that. But the fact of the matter is, most people have no idea about Bitcoin, haven't heard of it, and certainly haven't got any.
Okay, so is that how much it would cost if I wanted to get into Bitcoin now? Is that what I'd have to spend?
If you wanted to buy a whole Bitcoin, yeah, I think the price now, it's actually dropped down a bit. It's just under 7,000 at the moment. The market moves up and down all the time. You know, it's just buyers and sellers, and people panic. And there are a lot of new people into the space, and they worry and they hear something, or they hear somebody might do something, and then they sell and they panic, and then they buy it back at a higher price. You can buy Bitcoin or fractions of Bitcoin for as little as 5 or 10 euros.
Ah, right. So there is no sort of entry level buy-in. You can buy it whatever you want to spend, basically.
Yeah, I think most exchanges won't sell you less than about 5 or 10 euros worth.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's different, isn't it? Now, okay, I've bought into it. Say, I've now got my Bitcoin. Can I use it? Can I spend it?
You can. One of the problems that Bitcoin is having at the moment is most people are not buying Bitcoin to spend it.
Right. Okay.
Most people are buying Bitcoin because they believe it will preserve their wealth better than what they've currently got, and they're looking at it for asset appreciation. So yes, in theory you could buy it, but you could then sell it straight away if you wanted to, but what would be the point?
Right. All right. I understand. Now, if I've got Bitcoin, I'm just thinking in random things here. Could I then sort of, you know, if I died, leave it in a will to my kids?
Absolutely. One of the most important things about cryptocurrencies is that we have to change our way of thinking from we have to trust a bank to we are the bank. You are your own bank. If you hold Bitcoin on a wallet, your wallet, say, which could be a hardware wallet, which can be a phone, you could even make a paper printout of it if you wanted to. You are the bank. If you lose the thing called the private keys, which is basically a hexadecimal string of numbers, you won't be able to retrieve your Bitcoin.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
So it's best not to lose that. But
Yeah.
if you have those keys and you pass that to your wife, she can go and sell your Bitcoin or do whatever she wants with it. But you have to have your own security. I mean, I'm skipping through obviously quite a bit of detail here,
Yeah.
but basically the thing to understand is when you deposit your money in a bank, you are trusting the bank.
Yes.
When you deposit Bitcoin into your own wallet, and I don't mean wallet on an exchange, if you transfer it from an exchange to your own wallet, which can be a free wallet, a paid for wallet, there are many, many different choices, you then become the bank.
Because one of the things that annoys me about banks is if I want to bring some currency in from the UK, I know it can be done with a push of a button. Yet it takes 3 days and costs me money.
Yes, it does, because obviously the banks hold on to your money and they use it and gamble on the financial markets, and then with that money they make a profit, and that's why, of course it can be done instantly. But the banks are not in the business of helping you, they're in the business of helping themselves.
Right, now I'm going to ask Tracy a couple of things.
Sure.
Thank you, David. Excuse me, Mum. Tracy, you're in the sort of marketing side of it, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. I'm basically do all of the promoting, advertising, Facebook, social media, all that side.
Do you find people are, I know David will say yes, but do you find people are buying into this?
Well, it is a difficult one. I was only attending a meeting today, and people do look at you strangely, let's say, when you first say a cryptocurrency. But then it's funny because 2 years ago I would have mentioned cryptocurrency to anyone at a coffee morning and they wouldn't have had a clue. So if you just refer to the word of Bitcoin, or as Dave said, blockchain, now more people are like, oh, I've heard of that, but they didn't realise it's called a cryptocurrency. So that's mainly the issue that I'm trying to get over, is encouraging people to listen about getting in at a standard, just a basic level, so they understand the basics of the cryptocurrencies and how they're going to change your life.
Is it the future?
I believe so.
Yeah? And you believe, both of you, that in the future we will be in a total cashless society? Let's go back to David.
Yeah, I mean, it will take some time to go completely cashless, but obviously that's what governments and central banks want for their own nefarious reasons. But the reason to go into cryptocurrency is not so much to get rid of the cash, it's to basically preserve your wealth. If you hold your wealth in a bank issued currency denominated, dollars, pounds, euros, and they create more of those every year, then that dilutes every one that you hold. And therefore, you see people's savings. One thing governments cannot do, they can guarantee a currency from a point of view, if you lose it, maybe there's some sort of insurance scheme or something. But what they can't do is they can't guarantee the value of that.
Right.
And so we had experiences in the 1920s with the Weimar Republic, and some of the guys there were involved with financial advisors back in Germany, and they were told to put their money into savings bonds, and at the end of it, the whole of the savings bonds that guys saved up for bought a loaf of bread. And that's because the currency just devalued to nothing. Yeah? In history, not one currency has survived, not one.
No, that's very true. That's scarily true. We've got to it in a certain way, because a lot of people, everybody, I guess now, uses credit cards. But
well, they do. But I remember in the 70s when credit cards, I was only a child, but I do remember because my parents, I told them to get one. I didn't really totally understand it, but I said it would be a good thing to have. And of course they were quite against it. Well, why do we need that? We can pay for cash, we can write a check. Why do we need a bit of plastic? And I know that, subsequent research, Visa and MasterCard spent a lot of money to get people to use the plastic. And of course now everybody uses it. Most people don't actually understand how it works,
no.
But they understand they can take it out of their pocket, put it into a machine, yeah, and pay for something, goods and services. Well, you could do the same with cryptocurrencies, In fact, it's quicker. Yeah. And your point about sending money overseas, by the way, the transaction fees on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are a shadow of and a fraction of what it costs us, what a bank charges you to send. I literally could send $100,000 worth of Bitcoin to a guy in China, and it might cost me €9.
Goodness, that's crazy, isn't it?
How long would it take to get there?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
instant.
Yeah,
Almost.
it's almost instant. Yeah.
All right, look, Tracy, I know you already mentioned you do seminars, but you do presentations, don't you, to explain this. If somebody wanted to get in touch with you and maybe organise some sort of presentation, how would they do it?
Well, if you've not seen me on Facebook, where have you been? I have been plastering myself all over Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. But we're doing a free seminar in Marbella on the 9th, which is a basic intro course, about 3 hours long. You just need to get in touch with me at Tracy at crytoeducation.co.uk. Drop me an email there. I'll add you to the list. It's a free seminar, so we're limiting places. We can't just have abundance of people turning up at the same time. So we do need to keep a track of who's getting in touch with us, and then I'll reply via the email to say exactly where the venue is in Marbella. That's on the 9th. It starts at 11 in the morning for 3 hours. Can't think of a better Christmas present to give yourself. And it's free.
Sounds great. David, Tracy, thank you so much for talking to me. I now understand a bit more about Bitcoin.
Yeah, and just bear in mind as well, Bitcoin is just one of many, many cryptocurrencies. There's Ethereum, there's Litecoin, there's Ripple, there's Veritasium that's coming out next year. There are so many others, and they all have a purpose. Bitcoin just happens to be the market leader. Ethereum, for argument's sake, has the ability to run what they call smart contracts, which will change the world completely, because so many companies now are putting things on smart contracts, self-executing contracts. The old world is finished when it comes to things like this. It's the future. Yeah.
It's a brave new world.
It is.
It is.
I'll just give you our website again, which is www.crytoeducation.co.uk.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.